Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Steve and Jeff. G'day, Steve-O. Asking for a friend.
Oh, no, this is one of those ones where you get a bit nervous.
Oh, well, it is. This is the one that kind of keeps me awake all night. This podcast has a little ears warning, also has a sensitive ears warning. It is, as ATP Sciences, these are serious questions. Some of them are quite sensitive in nature. This is asking for a friend. So we've tried to remove any of the questions where we think people are just trying to be, silly.
Yeah, the boogers one I removed.
It's funny. I mean, like, that is interesting. You reckon they're just having a crack. But having said that, people have got to have a forum where they can ask questions, Steve. And again, you're a health professional, so we can answer these questions as best we can. So just be aware if you're driving and you're in the car, you might want to wind up your windows. Yeah. You want to make sure that no little ears are for this one. It is a strictly R18 plus podcast. We're going to try and treat it with some civility, Steve.
Yeah.
And some decorum.
I've started off softer, so they get worse as they go on. So
right.
The last one, this one's actually, the first ones are medical questions.
Yeah.
And there's a few silly ones thrown in, but they're not super duper offensive. And then it just gets worse.
All right.
And then
it's just downhill from there.
It just goes from bad to worse.
All right. Well, look, so okay, yeah. You've been warned.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. All right.
Yep.
All right.
And I didn't make up these questions.
All right.
The first one is...
First one.
And I'm going to read it word for word because I don't get in trouble.
No.
Are the small white lumpy spots on my ball sack normal? How do I get rid of them? Dr. Google says they're called foresight spots.
Foresight spots. Is that to do with hair follicles, Steve?
It is. It's a fatty lump that's in the follicle where there's no hair spots because the hair spot allows oil to come out.
That's right.
So it just builds up in these white spots. You get them in your lips here, and you get them on your...
Didn't they used to call them milk spots?
Oh, I don't know what they used to call them. No. Oh. But foresight spots, and this is what this.
Does everyone have them, Steve?
Yeah, when you're born, you have a lot of them on the genitalia area.
Yep.
And you have them to a lesser degree or an obvious degree, depending on how much fatty deposits released from it. So if they are that, it's not a disease. It's just to build up a fatty tissue where there's no hair follicles to release the fatty tissue. So you get these. They don't look pathogenic. I was going to bring a photo in, but. You know what? I don't want to bring a photo of his scrotum.
No. Not my favourite thing.
I was Googling and I thought, nah, that won't pass muster. We're going to get in trouble for that one. So, but they're little white spots. They're not red. They're just not infectious.
Yep.
So they're not an STD.
Yep. Some people obviously have a bit more than others and all the rest of it, but it's not something that you should be worried about.
No. I think, he might have, his partner may have been concerned about them or anything, and there's nothing to be concerned about. There's no infections or anything.
Yep.
If they become infected, then a typical infection of the hair follicle is acne.
Yeah. And typically it's sore, redness, puffiness, that kind of stuff. So if it's not that, it's All right, nice one.
So that's a good one. So we're starting off a little bit.
Okay, we're straight back to the keeper.
Now the next one's from the J.
I should say straight back to the bowler. Let that one go through to the keeper. What? I did not.
Oh, no. Well, it was from somebody who said that I get erections frustratingly easy and it sticks around for around 10 minutes after sex, which seems like a long time.
That is so strange.
I know. What causes an erection to come and go? Jeff, what causes an erection to go?
Well, I mean, put it this way. Typically, after intimacy, that's not a normal time. I mean, I've heard of people using things, medication and things like that, like Viagra, where they have a consistent one and that can lead to a problem. But notwithstanding medication and all the rest of it, Steve, that is I've never heard of that myself personally.
No.
So typically after sex. So, Steve, have you looked into that? What's going on?
I have, unfortunately. Yep. When you ejaculate, you release a high level of prolactin, which drives impotence,
and then makes you sleepy.
And then all these other chemicals too, endorphins, and you feel great. And then your penis becomes flaccid. That's the idea of the normal thing. Now, if you're taking a PDE5 inhibitor like Viagra or Cialis or Tadalafil or the other ones, there's heaps of them around there.
Yep.
I've got a whole pantry on.
Yeah, I bet.
So that can inhibit the breakdown chemicals, so it can last longer. Now he didn't say he's 29, by the way. It's anonymous, but he's 29, so he's young.
Yeah.
So, but you really should have a refractory period after that. Now, if the problem with too many erections or too longer erections, if it lasts for more than about an hour or two, the blood, because you've got to remember, an erection is when
stagnate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, effectively, I mean the oxygenation, goes and you start getting necrosis. So
correct.
Yeah.
So the penis fills up with blood but doesn't drain blood effectively, and that's what an erection
and we were
is.
talking about it before, and it's not pleasant, but it basically go to the hospital and they
drain it.
needle straight in and they syringe it out, which just every man I can just see is just like shaking their head and going, oh.
Yeah.
But having said that, Steve, so could there be a physiological reason why this gentleman is having that? I mean, it doesn't sound dangerous. It only sounds like it's about 10 minutes, but it's very unusual.
It's very unusual.
Very unusual.
Yeah, very unusual. I mean,
unless he has an incredibly hot, partner. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I don't care how hot the partner is. Typically, I mean, most men it's just like that's it. It's over.
Yeah, it's over. Other mammals like rams can do it 30 or 40 times a night. Yeah, I know. Different species, of course.
Of course.
And have you ever seen the ball sack of a ram?
Yes.
They're massive.
Yes, they are.
So they've got a lot of reserves.
Yes.
And relatively.
Well, they need to normally do 30 or 40, ewes, right? So it's whereas, but that's very unusual. So is there any physiological reason why you could think, Steve, that would be happening?
No. I mean, he's lucky in one way, but he's also, I mean, that's not normal. And, it's not going to be medically relevant. It's just that maybe he has a quick time, he has more dopamine or something, which suppresses the prolactin release. I'd like to ask him if his orgasms are true orgasms. You know what I mean? Like an orgasm is a release of all these chemicals. Prolactin's one of them. So if he has that anorgasmic reaction and still comes, then that could be it, but I don't know. He didn't mention any of that. That's the only thing but it's very interesting.
Could it be filial? What am I trying to say here? It couldn't be a
physiological?
Oh my gosh! I must put something else in the sign. Yes, like a nerve or something like that, lower back. Could it be something like that, Steve?
Well, when you get spinal injuries, you can develop spontaneous erections that last for a long period of time, which are dangerous. Yeah, for your back, but also
not typically around that time because I mean, again, I'm stumped. So it's a bit of an unusual one.
No,
but it doesn't sound dangerous. No, 10 minutes. Maybe a bit inconvenient, like in terms of if he's, got somewhere to be, but.
Oh, yeah.
But any advice, Steve? I mean, other than potentially going to see a specialist?
I wouldn't even bother with any sort of treatment whatsoever. I mean, he says around 10 minutes, he gets erections easily. I mean, at 29, I mean, usually that's, younger when you get erections inappropriately from my memory serving, in your teenagers. Teenage boys are notorious for that with the surging testosterone and everything. But 29, you've usually got a bit more control like that. But no, I don't see it as a medical problem. You could see it as an advantage if, you wanted to go again for another 10 minutes after the event.
Okay.
Good. All right. Good. Next one. Why do farts smell worse in the shower? There is an answer to this.
There is?
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me have a crack. Yeah. So would it be because of the what am I looking for? The atomization of the steam and the heat, which actually disperses the smell. So therefore, effectively, you're getting a higher concentration to the nasal cavity.
Correct, because the shower is pushing all the water down.
Yep.
And so if something's going down, the air's displaced and pushing up.
Yep.
And showers are typically 1 by 1 meter.
Yep.
So you're in an enclosed area.
Yeah.
So the fart can only go up. And it goes past your nose and you breathe it in like you do.
Yeah.
And of course, some of the fart molecules can trap in with the steam that can get up in your nose. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think in terms of it's interesting, a bit strange. Yeah. But a scientific reason for that. Steve.
Yes.
Amperage.
Amperage is a measure of electricity.
But it's also one of my favourite supplements that we
yes,
make
it
at
is.
ATP Science. Now it's funny. This is a product that we've been using. My wife Tony uses it. She actually puts it in her coffee every morning to make what you'd call a bullet coffee.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I'm not a fan of doing that. I love it before I'm going to do any sort of sport or any sort of lifting or anything like that. But it's an unusual product. But it's used for people. Fasted cardio.
Yes.
A lot of people take it before they do endurance-based sports.
Yep.
A lot of people take it before they go to the gym.
Yep.
And one of the things that I like about it is taking it in between meals.
It does contain CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid, which is good for lots of things in the body.
It is. And peppermint oil, Steve?
It's great for, I'm going to say it, grip strength.
Right.
It improves your strength.
Okay. I think that's a food claim. I think we're allowed to say that.
And it helps you jump higher.
Yep.
There's been studies done on this.
So good for basketballers.
Great for basketballers. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be terrific. It also contains, of course, that's what the peppermint oil is, but it also contains pomegranate. So it's got the omega.
Love pomegranate
I know.
oil.
It's got the omega-9, omega-7, omega-6, omega-5, and omega-3 oils.
Yeah.
I mean, how many omegas do you want?
Yep.
Most supplements just have omega-3s.
3, 6, and 9.
Yeah. Yeah, at the most.
And some of them over-index on omega-3, which is understandable because, I mean, again, that is like, but if you can get 7, 5 as well, that's pretty cool.
It is really cool. Think of the odd numbers as being like a lot of the anti-inflammatory ones. Yeah. You still need the 6 though.
Yeah.
And that's why that's in there. That's why they call them essential fatty acids.
So if you're looking for something a bit different, you don't want caffeine before you train,
It's
but
stim-free.
you're looking for that little pep in your step.
That's good, Pep. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. So
Equipment.
try Amperage. I mean, again, it's one of my favorite supplements. It's very different. It's very unique. It's one of those things where I like to say the proof's in the pudding. Give it a try. See how you go with your training.
And all filler, no killer. It's got no additives. Yeah, you know, do you like that saying?
I do. Hey.
So it's a terrific product. No fillers, no sweeteners, no nothing.
Yep.
Tastes great.
So you can use it if you're on a ketogenic-based diet,
Yes.
Which a lot of people do like.
Yep.
Again, if you're over the stimulants, but you want to find something that you can use before you train, you can give this a try and see how you go.
You might train after work at 5:30. You don't want to take too many stimulants then.
That's exactly right, Steve.
be
So
up to
anyway, again, it's one of my favorite supplements.
Yep.
Give it a try if you like it. Let us know. Give us your feedback. Anything else, Steve?
Nah, it's a great product.
All right, good one.
I've got another one for you here.
All right.
It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
So as I said, we're starting off a bit softer. It gets worse.
Okay.
All right.
That was soft.
Yeah. Well, speaking of soft, when you eat ice cream, does it leave your body as wee or poo?
That's very strange. I'd say a bit from column A and a bit from column B.
Depends on the ice cream.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the low sugar ice creams are high in fibers, like inulin and the sweet fibers, polydextrose.
Right.
So that can leave as poo.
Yeah.
But if you have just a normal ice cream,
Yep.
which is a lot of sugar
Yep.
and very little protein, then it will leave your body as wee because sugar turns into carbon dioxide. Oh, there's that gas again, and water.
So if you want to save the planet, stop eating ice cream.
Correct. CO2. So so it depends on the ice cream you eat. Very interesting. All right, this is actually a common problem in men. So it's not a not a bad one, but it says help. I am growing boobs. In brackets, I am a man.
Yep. Look, and gynecomastia, or
That's
however you want to pronounce it. My pronunciation of these things is really, really terrible. But gyno is something which has been being in the industry of bodybuilding is something that you see typically when people take a lot of steroids. And it's not from taking steroids, it's because their hormonal balance goes way out of whack. So typically as your testosterone levels increase, your estrogen levels follow behind. What happens when a lot of guys come off steroids is their testosterone levels drop, but their estrogen levels remain elevated. And that obviously leads to the production of gynecomastia, which effectively is called man boobs or what have you. But it can happen in other reasons as well too, Steve, specifically around people who have got hair loss and take medication for it as well too, which is a really interesting one. It blocks that pathway, right? But it does happen sometimes naturally in people, specifically if and again, Steve, you're far more knowledgeable than I am on this, but when they're exposed to forms of estrogens, xenoestrogens and things like that can really play havoc, artificially low testosterone levels and things like that, and or a combination of a few of these different things.
Yeah, or just being overweight.
Well, of course, because we know that being overweight does what?
The fat cells take testosterone and turn it into estradiol via aromatase. And the enzyme aromatase is the key here. So let's say I'm injecting myself with sustanon every day.
Which is a steroid.
It's pure testosterone. Now, the body can convert that into estradiol pretty easily via aromatase.
Yep.
And if I'm overweight and I've got more aromatase,
Yep.
then that can get on that pathway. Now,
Yep.
medications for that, there's the classic ones is Arimidex, which
Sure.
is an aromatase inhibitor. They usually
Tamoxifen.
Yeah. Tamoxifen is an estrogen blocker. So typically they give aromatase to women with breast cancer. So you can give it lower dose to men with gynecomastia. That's the medical treatment.
Sure.
The natural treatments, which is what I prefer, is a natural aromatase inhibitors like Tonkat Ali is a classic one.
Perfect.
Yeah. And also losing body fat.
Of course.
And maybe keeping away from the xenoestrogens.
Yeah, plenty of water, making sure you get good quality sleep. I mean, these things can obviously help. Making sure you get plenty of zinc. Zinc is absolutely critical for men to help with natural testosterone production. What about other things, Steve, as well, too? You could look at things like chasteberry.
Chasteberry, yeah.
Also known as Vitex acnes castus. I mean, there's other things that you can take as well, too, that can sort of help detoxify. Because it's not always about blocking, and I always get worried about these chemical straitjackets that people put themselves into, which effectively is sort of almost replacing one problem with potentially another one. Now, for short periods of time, medical intervention for these things can help, especially if they're way out of whack, but it doesn't often then, as we say, solve the problem. What you're better off doing is working out what's going on. Is there estrogen, xenoestrogens, chemicals, petrochemicals? These sorts of things can all have sort of impacts as well too.
Absolutely.
What is the source of the problem? And then finding a solution to it. Now, I'd much rather, again, Steve, nature knows best, to use natural things, natural herbs, natural compounds to help the body. So that way you can then, rather than putting a straitjacket on the body, you're just helping things to move down the right pathway.
Exactly. That's the way to do it. So you mentioned the hair loss products like finasteride. They block testosterone going down this one pathway, so it
DHT,
overloads.
right?
Yeah.
So it stops DHT.
Yeah.
So, and this is the thing with testosterone levels as well too, is that it can go down multiple pathways, right? So you want to enhance it going down the right pathway. This is where things like tribulus, this is where things like shilajit, this is where things like Tonkat Ali can all have and zinc can have a profound effect on producing hormone pathways that are help maintain normal physiological, sort of processes within the body. So that can help. And then obviously if you're getting too much estrogen, the number one thing that I would say is lose weight can help.
Yeah.
Specifically, because as you're right, fat cells obviously just produce more estrogen, right?
They do.
So, and that can also lead to a problem. But unless it's really severe, you can also get surgery. Now, a lot of my friends have got surgery from using steroids before, and some of them end up even lactating.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible.
That's incredible. That's high levels of prolactin, which is a really bad hormone for men.
Yep.
Particularly.
Yep.
We talked about it causing impotence before, but it causes all sorts of other inflammatory diseases and cancers, awful stuff.
So advice to this gentleman, Steve?
Yeah, certainly if you're overweight, lose it.
Yep.
Start with natural medicines, of course.
Yep. So the things that we mentioned, chasteberry, get natural testosterone supplements as well too, tribulus, shilajit, those kind of things. Tonkat Ali, as you said as well too.
Specific one for it.
Fantastic levels of zinc.
Yep.
What else, Steve?
There's natural, chrysin, and is another natural agent that can help you sleep.
Forgot about that.
It's a good aromatase inhibitor too.
Yeah, and you can actually use that one if you get a one that can be subcutaneous, which can actually be massaged into that area and go straight through the skin. Believe it or not. Anyway, so yes, so you can take chrysin. I mean, you can get your bioidentical hormones and things like that as well too. But again, they can work in short term. I think they're great. But again, I like nature.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
All right. That's
anything else, Steve?
No, that pretty much covers it. There's a gentleman I know who's had surgery too on his breasts and removed a lot of tissue.
Yeah.
Using, I say simple lipo, but it's about $10,000 he paid for it.
Yeah, right.
So incredibly. So I'd rather go the natural way. And even if you need to go to a Arimidex or something like that,
the thing is, Steve, if you've got full-blown gyno, you can do all of these things, but if that tissue effectively is changed, then that could be something that you may want to look at surgery to remove it.
Unfortunately, because once the tissue's there, they've got receptors for estrogen.
That's right.
The subcutaneous fat, not the visceral fat where you get the rotund belly that guys get, the subcutaneous fat has a lot of estrogen receptors.
Yep.
So blocking estrogen at those receptor sites causes the fat cells to shrink.
Yep.
So that's where this stuff all works. But if the fat tissue is already there, it's very difficult. Now, what you can do is minimize it, because everyone's got a little bit of fat on their boobs, but you just don't want that obvious rest.
Lump.
Yeah.
And this is what you can see as well too, sort of like all of a sudden that's being changed. It's the same as with some girls that have used testosterone supplements as well too.
Yeah.
There are physiological changes to their clitoris that happen that just don't ever go back. It might reduce a little bit, but it's changed for good. And that's just simply because there's more tissue there now.
I know.
So,
and it's funny, I think our next podcast is going to be released on the dark side of the industry.
well, that definitely could be something that people just need to be made aware of.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. But
So
it is what it is, right?
it
So
is.
it's not good or bad, it just is.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So that's sort of the man boob sort of thing, which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
The next question's a bit more abstract.
Okay. I like abstract.
It's a tough one. Why do I get goosebumps when I need to poo?
Oh, I have no idea. Hang on.
There is a reason, but it's
It's got to be nervous. It's got to be to do with the nervous system, right? So what is it?
there are nervous there are nervous receptors at the anus.
Yep.
Which, when stimulated,
Yeah.
can cause this response. It can cause tingling feeling.
Ah.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean anything strange is going on.
Yep.
It just means that the anus is full of all these nervous cells.
Yep.
Which are very sensitive.
Yeah.
So when you've got a large anatomical turd going out there, it does stretch these nerve
Sounds
receptors.
so scientific when you put it that way. A large anatomical turd.
Yes.
I mean, it's a stool, Steve.
Stool. Oh, geez.
Yeah. And I tell you what, if someone came at me with a stool, I'd pucker up as well too, right? So I think that makes sense. But
Yes.
yeah, it had to be with regards to nerves. Question for you: does rubbing your eyes help alleviate constipation and open up the anus?
I don't know. I've never tried that. There you go. Next time I'm constipated, I'll rub my eyes and see what happens.
Yeah.
I
Does like you're going into the toilet,
Yeah.
and you rub your eyes.
Yeah. God, I'm normally playing on my phone.
Oh, that's disgusting! Never ask me to touch your phone again. In fact, don't touch anybody's phone. I wonder how many people take their phone to the toilet.
Probably everyone,
I don't.
don't you?
No. Do you know how little I spend on my phone? I hate my phone.
Yeah.
I don't like being and the amount of calls that I get from random numbers. It's like, even if I knew who you were, I'm not answering your call, right? It's like, bugger off.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
it's-
Yeah, I think I spend a total of like 2 minutes on social media
It's
every week.
It's weird, the old social
hate it.
media thing. There is a new condition that I've seen in the literature on social media. A little bit off topic here, but and I can't remember the name of it. They've made it up, and it's a new condition where people are graded on how many likes they get and how many followers they have on Instagram. It's like that's now a thing in people's brains, and it's like a new addiction thing.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't, just like, who's this person? Oh, they've got 250,000 likes on Instagram or followers, and it's like, well, who cares? But that's a thing now. So
Look, from a business point of view, I mean, if it's for business, I understand that, right? Because that's about commerce,
Yeah.
and that's important, right?
Sure.
And I think if you've got something really worthwhile to say to an audience that you can do, that's brilliant. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube, actually. I watch a lot, and I listen to podcasts as well too. But I don't like social media for the most part. I mean, unless I'm actually looking at like something I'm going to learn from. But
yeah,
you can go down that rabbit hole of anyway.
it's tricky. All right, you want another question?
Yes.
Does pulling out work? How effective is the withdrawal method?
Oh, not very. There's lots and lots of kids. Just trust me, the guy says. I've got, especially a guy.
Yeah,
especially a guy.
especially a young guy.
I've got this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have got lots of control. Where is it one place that guys do not have a lot of control?
Oh, especially when you're a teenager.
Can I tell you something as well too? There's the pre-ejaculation as well too, Steve-O, which
Tell us about
effectively is just...
pre-ejaculation.
Well, I would not say I'm an expert on that, Steve, but I have read in books. But look, the thing is that typically, yes, not very safe at all. In fact, I think in terms of methods of a contraceptive, it would probably be up there with the absolute worst.
It is, especially when you're young and stupid. Like all right, I'm 53 now, but I remember when I was 16 and all that age group. This was the method.
But yeah, no, it's not an effective method. Even if you're perfect at doing it, typically, sperm does come out even before the ejaculation event happening. Means that, hey, guess what? Yes, you can still get pregnant.
Because most of the fluid comes from the prostate, and the other part comes from the testes.
Yep.
And the part from the testes starts to drool out beforehand, and the prostate fluid pushes it out.
Just can you please watch your phrasing? I don't like it. It's just disgusting.
We have to talk.
I know, Steve. I know. But yes, it does. It does.
The next question's worse. So
it does leak.
We'll linger on this.
Wow. Okay. I'll prepare myself, Betsy.
All right. So yeah, don't use that one. The next one
don't use it. No,
is from a young lady.
Okay.
And she says, "How can I smell better down there?"
Okay. Well, that's you know what, that's a really common question, and it's not a bad question to ask.
No.
Everything, the the biome, if you like, where there's bacteria, there can be obviously smell. And Steve, you're very, very well equipped to answer this. So in terms of a big place to start certainly is around diet. I think that's one. I mean, obviously hygiene's another really important part as well too. And look, some people are very concerned over it, and it can change, which is really, this is the good news. So
yeah, it can, and it changes dramatically with the pH of the vagina.
That's exactly
the pH of the vagina is slightly lower, so it's slightly acidic.
Now washes and cleanliness is part of it, but that's not the long-term solution, though, Steve.
No, because what washes are typically are either alkaline, or they're neutral.
Yeah, and again, it's treating the problem as opposed to getting to the root of the problem.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah.
So you need to increase the acidity of the microbiome in the gut and the vagina. They're intimately linked. So you need to produce more short-chain fatty acids.
Yep, like butyrate.
Butyrate, propionate, valinate.
Interestingly enough, good gut health, and Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said this, is the beginning or the place where basically all good health starts.
Yeah.
So if you treat the gut, that can help a lot with systemic areas. Now, you should be doing A and B. So you should be using washes and of course, cleanliness and all that sort of stuff is very, very important, which I'm sure.
Sure.
But at the same thing, it's like over brushing your teeth as well too.
Yeah.
You don't want to overdo it.
That's right.
So because you need the natural balances to come. Yeah. So starting with good gut health, Steve,
very much
what else would you recommend?
Well, the microbiome is important down there because if you get a moderate, so the acid is good for the microbiome.
Yeah.
Acid in the gut and these areas are very good to protect against all sorts of diseases, cancers,
Candida, that sort of stuff as well too.
Candida hates acid.
Yeah.
So if you can acidify the gut by having a lot of soluble fibers in your diet and having products that are healthy for your gut, then that can acidify the vagina as well.
Yep.
And the acid kills some of those like Candida albicans, some of the biomes that don't like acid environments.
Yep.
So your vagina should be slightly acidic.
Yep.
And should have that sort of lower-ish pH of around 6 or less.
So is there practical ways that you can actually go and test that, Steve? Can you get an acid test for that area?
You can get
what should be the number if you're looking at a number?
About 5.
About 5.
Yeah, 5 to 6.
So it might be an idea potentially to look at that. Look at some external treatments as a short-term measure to improve the pH, and then ultimately look at really good gut health. Now, there's some things in the diet, Steve, that you would avoid that could potentially have an impact on
sugars are the big one.
Sugars, right?
Yeah, they're really bad because the anaerobes can feed off sugar really easily. And that's what you don't want in your vagina.
So try and reduce the sugars.
Yep. Or refined carbs, you know.
Alcohols as well too, Steve?
Yeah, because alcohols usually come with a side serve of sugar as well.
Sure.
And alcohol is bad for lots of things in the body.
Yep.
But, and unfortunately, a lot of people do overdrink a lot of stuff and they'll drink a lot of, sweet drinks, particularly a lot of women.
A little bit of red wine's okay.
Yep, dry red wine.
Dry red wine. But maybe try and reduce the refined sugars.
Yep.
Try and eat more healthy fiber. Maybe try some gut health products.
Yes.
From a reputable brand.
Yes.
Because those can improve things like,
absolutely.
So that might be a good place to start.
And there's pharmaceutical things, but you don't want to go down
Look,
that.
if it's really a problem and it's something that's really bothering you, as I said, Steve, short-term solution might provide you with the comfort and the confidence and whatever else you need to do. Fine, go and do that. So you could potentially go and talk to your doctor about some short-term solutions. However, I'm always worried, Steve, that the pipe has always got to be paid at some point.
It does.
So you've got to change the diet, get rid of those sugars. Look at getting polyphenols into your diet as well too, specifically more fiber. Maybe lay off the alcohol specifically, anything with sugars in there, and then obviously make sure that you're using good cleaning methodology in that as well too.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, groovy.
Good. Also a bit of and I don't know how to put this politely, but if you can air it out a little bit, keep it not as moist as like.
Well, I was thinking is maybe backyard handstand. Feet onto the fence, just maybe warn your neighbours.
Yeah, warn them so they can get their phones out.
It's just like, okay, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. We make light. But look, I've heard as well too a lot of people, they talk about wearing undies to bed and all that sort of stuff as well too, right? So maybe you're saying maybe have some time off. Obviously, making sure you're really changing your underwear and all that sort of stuff as well too.
Well, the trick is like you and I, probably like girls wearing activewear. It's very tight and fit and all that sort of thing, but it doesn't air the area out very well. So maybe in the evenings when you're at home, baggy pants or a dress or a skirt that no underwear while you're at home on your own, just to naturally when you're walking around and doing whatever, you're providing oxygen to that area.
Brilliant, Steve.
Because
Never
anaerobes.
thought of that. Yeah, right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, or
because
90s, whatever.
anaerobes don't like oxygen,
That's right. So they're anaerobic without
there you
air.
go. All right. That can help. Okay,
Yeah,
good
right.
one.
It's all good one.
No, all right, next.
All right. This one's a good one, an interesting one. It's more interesting than the question suggests. Okay, so why do my ears have a lot of wax?
That's interesting. Well, I don't know. I mean, wax obviously in the ears performs a function.
It does.
What is it, Steve? It's a natural barrier from water getting into the ear, I'd imagine.
Yep. It's a hydrophobic agent, so it stops the water pooling in there because water gives the infections.
Of course. That's swimmer's air and all that sort of stuff, right? But why would you be producing too much? I don't know.
There's a bit of a clue in what wax is made of. Wax is often made of a fatty protein called cholesterol.
Oh, right.
Or lipoproteins.
Yep.
So if you've got very high cholesterol, you can have very high earwax. So it can be a warning sign for high cholesterol.
Okay.
That's or hyperlipidemia.
So again, you can go in there and you can get in there. And in fact, it's funny because I used to hear never use earbuds because it can actually push the wax inside the ear, which can cause hearing problems.
Very much so.
Which is true. You can get it suctioned out. Should you do that though?
If you've got excessive wax, yes. But if you haven't, there's no need because you need wax in there.
That's right.
It's not the aim of the game is not to remove
all of the
It's like the vagina. It's a self-cleaning organism. It produces fluids and mucus all day.
Yeah.
So if you're getting staining on the underwear, that's actually quite normal for a woman.
Yeah.
So it's not like oh no, what do I do? It's absolutely natural to have some wax in there.
Yeah.
Now I've had those wax scans when I was in naturopathy college. We tried them out. It was good fun. Not much came out of my ear because I've got pretty normal waxy ears.
Yeah. Well, your cholesterol levels are probably quite low.
They're all right. They're about 4.9. I think the last one was or something, which is good. But if your cholesterol's 6 or 7, it can be very problematic.
Okay. Again, Steve.
A warning sign.
Sugar.
Yeah. Sugar's and bad diet.
What's the sugar? I'm a huge fan of using pomegranate peel, pomegranate, and completely great for the arteries as well too. That's more of a sort of a concern if you're worried about arterial plaque.
Pomegranate's good for so much.
But what else could we do, Steve, as far as the diet's concerned for cholesterol?
Certainly getting rid of the carbohydrates, as you said, because carbohydrates go into the liver and they make this acid called palmitic acid. And that's a very long chain saturated fat, which is the bad type of saturated fat, the longer chain ones.
Yep.
And so the body has to deal with that by carrying it around the body with a protein. Mm-hmm. So it forms a lipoprotein, and that's what LDL is, low density lipoprotein.
Yep.
And that's what cholesterol is.
Okay.
Most cholesterol is made in your liver.
Yeah.
So if you are eating a lot of carbohydrates, it definitely comes from the liver.
Any other reason why there might be a buildup of wax in the ears?
Really, that's the main reason why there can be. And if you're very like if you've got a job where you're wearing headphones all day. I remember we used to wear headphones here for a while.
I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them. Again, any of the biomes, right? I mean, like the ear and the nose and the mouth and, other ear. I don't like these noise cancelling earphones that people, I hate them.
Imagine if you worked in a coal mine where, you all day.
Well, I think we looked at that, didn't we? That the buildup of bacteria in the ear after, was it an hour or something like that? It's a very short period of time. Really starts to mess around with the ear.
Absolutely. And then you're exposed to air and it all dies. But sometimes these people are 12-hour shifts, and so that can be problematic.
Okay.
So that's a bad one too.
Okay. All right. Next.
That's a good one. Okay. My breasts are a different size and or shape. Is this normal?
Yes, it is. And typically what happens, I believe it's the breast on the same side as the heart that actually is slightly larger than the other one, typically.
Oh, yeah. So the main part of the heart for people listening is the left side, because the left side of the heart, because the heart sits pretty much in the middle of the sternum, but the left side's larger because it has to pump blood throughout the body. The right side, the bottom part, has to pump it through the lungs, so it's smaller. It's still vitally important, but the left one comes out the aorta and goes all throughout the body. So it's a bigger, fatter part. So your heart typically is over to the left. So,
and look, it's not always the case, but I've heard that, Stephen. That could be a fallacy. That could be an absolute fallacy. But typically is that there can be. It's the same thing as feet. I know this sounds funny, but my left foot is half a size bigger than my right foot. Other people, Steve, have got a full size difference between feet. Now, what is it? Da Vinci, anatomically, correct is something that we find attractive. Like if people have got weird eyes or their nostrils are not, we're attracted to symmetry. We like symmetry. And so people look at that as being a bit of a problem. But it's not. It's natural. It does happen. Some people have got it more distinctly than others. Are there any other reasons, Steve, that could account for a difference in the size of the breast, other than infections and other things like that?
There's nasties that can cause a breast as well.
I don't think this is this.
No,
because typically then you'd be treating that as a problem, like what is that thing again? Ptosis. What is it called?
Ptosis,
where the glands block and all the rest of it.
Mastitis?
Mastitis, sorry. Mastitis. But I don't think that's this. I think this is just how it is.
Sizes. Look, from a male point of view, males don't care. They love boobs. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't matter if they're slightly different sizes. I went out with a girl called one Minnie and one Mickey, for example, because they were a little bit different. They weren't that different. I didn't care. Boobs, like boobs. I mean, so it doesn't matter. And even if they're but very interestingly, from a plastic surgeon point of view, I know a few women who have had boob jobs, and all of the ones that I know have had different size implants, so they could be matched the same size at the end of the surgery. So like they insert 200 cc on one side and 230 in the other.
All the time.
All the time.
And look, for boob reduction and all the rest of it, surgery is always the last resort. We've even spoken about some of the problems that we've now been discovering with regards to implants and some of the dis-ease states that have been happening from some people.
Asia syndrome is a classic one.
So, but having said that, it's one of those things where, and I always say this as well too, there is nothing more attractive in a woman than confidence.
Yes.
And I don't mean arrogance. I mean confidence. A person that's attractive in their own, confident in their own skin, not arrogant, but just that is the most sexiest thing on the face of the planet.
It absolutely is.
So, any of those sorts of things. And look, none of us are perfect.
No.
So, with that, but if it's really bothering you, if it's really, really bothering you and you can't come to terms with it, then there are things that you could potentially look at doing. And I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, it's short thing.
Yeah.
It's natural.
It's absolutely natural.
More people probably have it than what you'd realise.
Yep. All right. Next one's a good medical one. Is it possible to get pregnant during your period?
Yes, it is.
It is possible, yeah.
If you release another egg, right? So depending on where you're at.
Yeah. So because the tip, if you're a normal, or I'll say normal, but let's say a healthy cycle, a 28-day cycle, or a 29.6 day, which is the lunar cycle, which is what really it is.
That's where the word lunatic comes from, Steve. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm going to die.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, nice knowing you.
But, the full moon brings out craziness in people and all that sort of stuff.
That's where lunatic comes from.
Yeah.
Yep. So it definitely has an impact on menstruation and all the rest of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a whole lot of there's a really interesting sort of studies on that, and it's very interesting. But let's say you've got a 28-day cycle for mathematical ease, because I'm going to halve it to 14. On day 14 is when you typically ovulate. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when you ovulate is when you're fertile typically. Mm-hmm. So the sperm.
How long typically for, Steve?
It's about 2 to 3 days each side of ovulation. Because let's say sperm is introduced on day 11, mm-hmm. okay, then the sperm travels, through the uterus up the fallopian tubes, mm-hmm. if everyone knows what that is, and it meets the egg coming down and fertilizes the egg, and then the egg implants inside the endometrium inside the uterus, mm-hmm. and the uterus then holds it there. You don't menstruate, holds it there because of the high levels of progesterone released from the egg, the fertilized egg, uh-huh. and then it grows in the iron, mineral-rich endometrium, and that's what pregnancy is all about. So during your period, it's 14 days away from your ovulation either side.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So theoretically, you shouldn't fall pregnant then, but
And how long does sperm typically last before it dies? Even the female sperm?
Up to 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's sort of like...
But as I like to say, Steve, fresh is best.
Yes, it is. It is. So if you want to fall pregnant, the best time to have sex is around your ovulation.
Which typically is when...
Middle of your cycle.
And women are normally most...
horny?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
word. Is that the technical term?
Can we say that?
No, what's the technical term for it?
What's the polite word?
Amorous.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
They've got a high libido.
Darling, I'm feeling amorous.
Amorous.
Yeah. Well, that sounds sexy. That's that's if you're upper class.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is what this podcast is all, upper class.
Me from Logan, it's like, babes, I'm feeling horny.
We don't talk about
from the upmarket areas. It's like, darling, I'm feeling amorous.
Well, we don't talk about farts in showers or anything around here. We're very classy.
That's exactly right. Amorous. What does amorous mean?
Oh, I just heard that word. You just in the mood for love.
Really?
You know the song? I'm in the mood for love. I don't know what the next line is.
I think that one came out in the 1950s, Steve.
Yeah, I think it did too. It's one of the crooners.
I like it. Anyway, so yes, so that would be the best time to obviously do it. But getting pregnant, you could. I was thinking, Steve, if you happen to release another egg.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
You could.
I mean, it's very unusual. But what was the question again?
Oh, can you get pregnant during your period?
I've got to ask the obvious question.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to have sex during your period?
Because then you don't get pregnant. That was the old 16-year-old in me answering that question.
Yeah.
It was a time that it was stupid. Look, we've got to remember guys are dumb when they're 16. In their teens, really. We are, aren't we? We haven't got our shit together. And so when you're with a woman,
we don't really have it together until we're 25. That's when the limbic part of the brain actually completely settles down.
Mine was a bit later. I think I was a late developer.
Yeah. I think most women would probably agree with that as well.
But the
maybe
thing is,
we never really get it together.
It's just funny because, during a period too, all we knew is that we thought that you couldn't get pregnant. It was like guys we were so keen to have sex that part of what was going on didn't worry us when we were younger.
We were using the lizard brain as opposed to the limbic part of the brain.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. We were using the second. There's 3 layers of the brain for the people who are listening. And the second part is the lizard part. The third part is the cerebral cortex, which is reasoning and thinking.
Yeah.
That
goes out the window.
That hasn't developed yet.
Gone.
But the second layer is when you're going, yes, I just want to have sex, and having your period was like, oh, bonus. We don't have to wear a franger is what we used to call them.
Franger.
Is that still around, the word?
Man, I am not a fan of, no, I don't, during that period. It's like, that's abstinence.
Yeah, I know. It was it's people are asking, so people are doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so, it's difficult because you got to remember also when you're menstruating, the endometrium's shredding and falling out of your vagina, basically. I mean, I know, this is
sure. Yep.
It's coming out.
Yep.
So if sperm goes in, it usually gets flushed out with it too.
Right.
So it's unlikely.
No.
Because the sperm goes in And sperm is an anticoagulant too. So you tend to bleed more after you do that.
Right.
So often that brings on a period too.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So, it's like, and the woman's often caught unawares until she has the amorous night, using polite words.
I like it.
And then it comes out. Because remember, the sperm has got to get through a whole lot of mucus to get to its objective, which is right up the fallopian tube.
Yep.
Which is a bit of a tough ask. They've got little swimmers, but they've got to get through all the mucus too.
Yep.
And the fallopian tubes are tiny. It's a tough gig for a sperm. It's terrible. And then the little mitochondria falls off the tail, and just the DNA goes in there from the nucleus.
Boom. Got the zygote.
Yep.
And then life starts happening.
Falls down the fallopian tube and sits inside the endometrium, and then we're away.
We're away.
Yeah. So period,
Nice
unlikely but possible.
Okay. Next one. Hang on, I think you missed one right down the bottom. What was that?
Oh, yeah, I skipped over that one, which is how to stop farting.
Oh.
I tried to skip some of these.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, obviously fiber plays a part. I mean, there's a whole heap of things that can be going on with that. But I mean, a lot of the times it's funny when people have changed over from using dairy-based protein to a collagen-based protein, they notice that they're farting a heck of a lot less.
Yeah.
Because there's a build-up of gas, digestion problems and that sort of stuff as well too. Look, fiber, there's what I'd call healthy farts and unhealthy farts, if that makes sense, Steve.
I know. They just said how to stop farting.
How to stop farting. Well, you don't want to.
No, you don't.
That old chestnut, if you don't fart, you die, it's kind of true.
It's absolutely true.
Naturally, our body is producing gases and all sorts of things. But I mean, unhealthy would be things like the rotten egg smell sort of stuff. And it's not so bad per se, because it could actually be dealing with a problem, killing a bacteria in the gut, which is then dying off, which is producing a gas.
It does.
But if you're consuming lots of sugar alcohols that are bad for the gut, that they can't be digested properly, or you've got a buildup of gases in the gut that shouldn't be there, that can cause prolonged issues, if you like, right, Steve? Like maltitol, sorbitol, things that can't be digested,
absolutely,
that ferment, and then they feed bad bacteria, and the bad bacteria feeds on that, and as a byproduct, they release gases. However, if you're eating lots of fibers and things that are actually helping, sort of kill off the bad stuff, sometimes that can build up a bit of gases, but gases are built up for a whole heap of reasons.
Of course,
Steve.
and they're like if you're drinking cow's milk and you can't digest lactose, the sugar finds its way into the microbiome, and that just plays havoc with it.
Yeah, massive amounts of gas. So a little bit happens. Yeah, but if it's a lot, it's probably have a look at your diet.
Yeah, they said how to stop farting, and I went,
don't stop farting. No, you need to.
No. So, okay. Oh, okay. This is a good one. A bit of a difficult one to answer this one, but how much lubrication should I produce from a woman?
Well, everyone's different, Steve.
It is.
Typically as you age and past, menopause, it can, dry up completely. But yeah, that's a good question. What is normal?
Well, I couldn't find a millimetre amount because I don't know if it's ever been measured before, because you can imagine trying to measure how much fluid's coming out. You'd have to scrape the...
Right.
Yeah, so you wouldn't do that.
No.
So I couldn't find a study on it. But how much is a lot when you're trying to have sex, enough that's keeping things lubricated.
Yep.
But you don't want too much where it's going to cause, just way over the top staining and those sorts of things. You're always producing some every day because your vagina is flushing out things all the time, but shouldn't be at a great rate.
But typically when you're excited, interested, you produce more. Of course. It's just a natural, So, right. I don't know. That's a really hard one to answer.
It is. I went, well, we'll talk about it because, it's
enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
I mean, without being, silly.
Yeah.
You can always get additional aids, and look, with that sort of stuff, the water-based ones are a lot better, I think, than the other ones. Sure.
Don't put anything in there that you're not willing to eat was this thing that we talked about. So, water-based is much better. So how much is dependent? It's estrogen dependent. So you're right, after 50, when women's estrogen levels drop dramatically, You know that men produce more estrogen over the age of 55 than women do if they're over 55?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because that's how much women drop in estrogen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
incredible.
taking things, the phytoestrogens again, like soy and other things like that, actually might be beneficial.
At that age, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Good one. Okay, the next one's one that maybe you can help out with, which is how much self-love is too much.
Wow. That's interesting. Are we talking from a anatomical, physiological? Are we talking psychological? Are we talking spiritual?
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of those things is that self-love.
Yeah. Do we know what? Well, I hope people know what we mean. I'm just quoting them.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that I think, one is the loneliest number. I think two is always much better, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Steve,
but say you've only got one is the loneliest number.
One, and you have to do it yourself. Well, that's a difficult one because I always come from this from a physiological.
The way I look at this is from let's say it's a young guy because that's when you do a lot of self-loving. You do.
Yep.
It's true. So there's a lot of zinc.
Why don't girls do a lot of self-loving?
They do. I'm sure they do.
I don't think as much as guys.
Oh no, but guys, what
Animals.
guys are like.
More animalistic.
Yeah.
What is that?
Their levels of testosterone drives their libido through the roof.
Right.
Women have a weaker androgen driver, progesterone.
Yeah.
And
I'm not being sexist, by the way, and I'm sure a lot of women do, and I think probably more do now than maybe what they used to, or maybe people are more freer about talking about it. But yeah,
the old. This is getting into the X-rated thing, but the original vibrators were produced for medical reasons. Did you know this from about 100 years ago, where the woman would go to the doctor to get release?
Hysteria.
Yeah. Because they found that helped settle them down.
Sexual hysteria.
Yeah. Because
coming together is, I think, very important for both parties. It's kind of the way it's like the key into the lock in terms of, it's interesting. There's some deep emotional thing, but we're just talking physical. And this is the part of it is that I find it difficult to separate the two. Yeah. Because I don't believe it's just a physical act. I believe it's actually spiritual. Very, very spiritual, to be honest.
Yeah.
But having said that, for the 16-year-old lizard brain, they're not thinking spiritual anything. No. So, but in terms of self-love, Steve, is there?
I just think it's a problem if they deplete too much zinc because young men need a lot of zinc.
Yeah.
And they're depleting a lot when they're doing that.
Okay. What happens if this question was from a woman? Well, a woman.
It could be from a woman. It depends. I mean, if they're too androgen, like if they've got too many androgens, which is very common in women these days, they could have an overexcitable libido, and you find that a lot.
But from an anatomical, physiological, professional point of view, Steve, you're saying there isn't really too much?
No, not really too much, unless it's becoming like an addiction. It's sort of like exercise. Exercise is very good for you. Everyone should do it.
But you could get rhabdo.
Yeah, you could get wrapped up your fingers.
Wow. I mean, that's a workout, right? I can't see that happening. But yeah.
I mean,
as my mum said, leave it alone and go blind. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I don't. From an anatomical and physiological point of view, Steve, I can't really see that. So.
No, it's a bit of a worry.
Okay.
A bit of a worry. Now, speaking of going blind during sex, I did some research on sperm, as you do, and do you know what speed sperm comes out at?
No.
You never measured?
I hear a little crack, so I figure it's faster than the speed of sound. So it's like a crack of a whip. Here we go.
The speed of 1,000 kilometers an hour is the speed of sound.
Yeah, that's how fast mine goes, Steve.
Oh well, you're above average because it's usually.
Of course, I am, Steve. But it's not the first time I've heard that.
But when I looked this up, when I looked this up, there is a world record, by the way.
Really?
Of distance.
There was an Italian dude.
Was it?
Yeah. He was Italian.
Yeah.
He could literally hit a wall. I think it was like 6 feet away or something stupid like that.
Well, the world record is 8 feet or 2.4 meters.
There you go.
There's a challenge for the guys out there.
Because they looked at it in terms of that improve fertility.
Yeah.
Because it was about obviously the force of the ejaculation hit the cervix more effectively, and did that improve? Yeah, I'm an expert,
You
Steve.
get past the uterus that way.
Yes, that's right.
Speed 45 kilometres an hour.
45 k's an hour.
That's pretty fast, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, that's at the tip. That's when they measured it. I don't want to be doing that experiment in my scientific life, but somebody
They have a
did.
speed gun on it.
Yeah, they must have. They must have.
Could you imagine the setup for that?
Yeah.
That's very strange. Hey, we've got a scientific experiment we'd like to perform.
And I had to look this up because I didn't know what it was, but Kegel exercises. Have you heard of that?
Pardon?
Kegel exercises, Kegel.
Is this about improving the strength of the prostate?
Yeah, and the ejaculation power. So there is an exercise you can do if you're interested in that.
How do you do that?
I didn't look that far ahead.
Oh.
But there is from this sex therapist. She said 45 kilometre hours, which is, and I'll quote this, why some people don't like it at the back of their throats. It can be a bit of a shock. Say sex therapist Tanya.
You're doing it wrong. I'm just kidding. But seriously, that's very strange. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's like, I know, and how many calories does it have? Do you know how much calories it has?
Oh.
It's going to come up later.
On your calculator, where does that come up on your MyFitnessPal? What have you eaten today?
Yeah.
Oh man, really?
Like we know
it's got protein.
Yeah, and we know it's got zinc. And it's
zinc is. I mean, the calorie impact of zinc is not. I mean, it's protein, but I don't know. It depends on the volume too. Gosh, Steve.
If you're adding it up, it's 5 calories. So it's got a bit of sugar and a bit of protein in it, particularly fructose. Which is why if you eat a high fructose diet, it can alter the taste.
Pineapple. I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Very strange. Okay.
That's from Tanya.
Now let's just. All right.
All right. Can we move on to the next
please.
one? Next question. I don't know where to go from here, but we'll
probably.
Yeah. All right. Can you get an STI, a sexually transmitted disease, from sitting on a toilet seat?
Oh, this is something that was always the fear. Like, my mum, she's Scottish. Those people are highly, highly, highly superstitious. And they've got, massive. The Scots, oh my gosh, it's all about superstition. They're crazy superstition people.
Yeah?
They are.
Okay.
And even my mum, with her upbringing, still had some highly superstitious stuff, right? I would say it's unlikely, but possible.
Very, very unlikely, but possible.
Yeah.
They don't, got to remember viruses need cells to survive. So,
that's right.
If you're going to catch a virus, which herpes virus, it's going to be extremely unlikely the virus is going to, live on that. So that's a pretty good question, though.
All right, next one.
Next one. Jeff, problem. You've got to solve this one.
Yep.
I can only have an orgasm when I'm alone. Is there something wrong with me? Now, I don't know if this is a guy.
It sounds like anxiety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds like anxiety to me. That's definitely, from my point of view, that would be a psychological issue.
It wasn't. I couldn't tell whether it was from a woman or man, which
doesn't.
Is
I don't think it really matters.
No, and I think it is anxiety.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I thought of was that do people know the anatomy of a woman's downstairs department where the clitoris is and all this sort of stuff? As a young man, I didn't. I didn't know where the nerves were and all that.
I consider myself to be an expert, Steve.
Yes, well, explain what to do to help a woman with her pleasure then.
I could, but then I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
No, look, if it is from a young woman who's with a young man, that's...
Oh, look, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, as I said to Tony when we were first married, I said, people talking about, multiple orgasms and all this sort of stuff. And I said, I'll guarantee you one. And that's mine.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is the truth though, is that, look, as you get older, you kind of learn, or you should be learning.
Yeah, you should
if you really do care about your partner, then you should be working out like what absolutely makes their ears tingle.
I got
and their toes curl.
Going back to the young man's point of view, if this is a young woman asking, and
don't worry,
young men are useless.
No, they don't know nothing,
and they don't care.
No, they don't.
They just
yeah. So if you're in a loving relationship, and you're having a problem. It sounds to me like, again, well, it's not physiological because you can make it happen.
Yeah.
So therefore, to me, it sounds like there's an anxiety. Again, without really getting into it, but maybe have a look at that. And you can, there are therapists and other people that can help with that.
Yeah.
If it's anatomical, then that's a conversation with your partner.
Yes.
But yeah, so don't worry. It just sounds like it's either a psychological thing, and we can definitely get past that.
Yep.
And if it's a lack of stimulus, then your partner needs to obviously improve.
Absolutely.
And that's a conversation you should be having with them.
Now that's exactly right.
Yep.
Now we've got time for one more.
Yeah.
And good, it's going to avoid the worst probably question of the patch.
Okay.
But this one's still bad enough.
You got me curious now.
No, well, yeah. We might have to do a part 2 here because there's lots of questions here. All right, so this one is this one's going to get a few emails. So you ready? Switch off now if you're easily offended. But
wow, easily offended. Wow. How bad is this one?
Well, this is not as bad as the one after it, but this is still pretty bad.
Okay, I've got to hear both, and I don't care if you don't. No, come on, hit me.
All right. The first one is, my girlfriend is worried about getting hit in the eye during fellatio. Should she be concerned?
Wear glasses.
Yeah.
There you go.
Glasses can be sexy
Goggles.
too.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Down.
45 kilometres an hour, remember?
Yep. Take an eye out. Maybe take both eyes out.
What I'd be more concerned about is the actual penis protruding the eye. If there's an accident.
You're doing it wrong.
I know. But accidents happen, if you're half drunk and all this sort of stuff. So should she be concerned? Well, it can, 45 kilometres an hour is fairly fast, but it should be able to survive that trauma. But what we've got to remember that the semen is slightly alkaline. Now that's irritating for the eyes. Alkalinity irritates the eyes. So if you do get some in your eyes, it won't cause blindness or anything like that. Like if you drop caustic soda in your eye, it can cause blindness instantly. But the sperm is just slightly alkaline.
Yep.
So make sure you rinse it out, or you will get an eye.
You get pink eye.
Pink. If he has an infection, you'll get pink eye too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing. But the force of the ejaculate shouldn't cause any eye damage.
No.
But
unless you're breaking the sound barrier.
Yes.
It's only one person.
Shouldn't matter.
Like a whip.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's probably not a problem. Wear goggles. Anyway, that's my simple solution.
That's goggles. So we have got time for one more?
Come on.
Oh. All right.
How bad is this? I mean, you're really...
It's only 3 words. Okay, so what is squirting?
So basically, a lot of problem with women. So and it's more common than what you may think, because it's probably one of those things that aren't spoken about. Nothing to be concerned about. No. Comes and goes with some women. Mm-hmm. And pressure in the bladder can actually cause some of that as well too.
And alcohol contributes to it. If someone's been drinking heavily, it suppresses ADH in the brain. Mm-hmm. So ADH is antidiuretic hormone, which stops you peeing. Mm-hmm. So if you suppress that with alcohol, then you can have more diuresis.
What about weak bladder and things like that too, Steve?
Absolutely.
Yep. So building up the strength of the muscles in those areas may help.
Absolutely. But also a lot of women...
So is that pelvic floor?
Pelvic floor exercise is good. Yeah. But you got to remember, it's also a lot of women just relax during, if they have a really strong orgasm, it just relaxes that whole area and they can let some urine go accidentally.
Yep. So
not a drama.
No, so it's one of those things. And again, you may suffer it during certain periods of your life. If you've got it, doesn't mean you have to, it has to maintain. Certainly pelvic floor exercises can help. Going to the toilet before can help. Not drinking alcohol can help.
Yep.
Anything else, Steve?
No, that
wasn't as bad. I was expecting something really bad. Like,
I know.
What happens if a monkey corners you in a bar? It's like, and I've had worse things happen. Well, so
we've got a few more questions, but we'll have to do a part 2 on this one.
Okay.
Because there's like another. We got a lot of questions here.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, give me some of the other ones really quick.
All right. Can my penis break during sex?
Ooh, you know what? A friend of mine broke his penis.
Yeah.
On a boat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Was going along in the north of Queensland and hit something. Doesn't know what it was, and landed. The boat was going flat out on a certain number of knots. The boat literally stopped.
Yeah.
And he went forward, hit the bow of the boat with his crutch, broke his penis. Had to have a couple of operations and knocked out and landed 30 meters away from the boat in crocodile-infested waters.
I don't know what's worse, breaking your penis or crocodiles?
Breaking your penis.
Yeah. Crocodiles are no big deal.
Yeah. No.
So, A woman's
No, you can't. You can't break your penis.
No, it just damages the
could
blood
hurt
vessels
it.
in there. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
and the problem is if
trauma.
you rub the skin off as well too, and then that stings. You just got to leave it for a while and then come back into it. But that can be a problem. I've heard of that before as well too.
Yeah.
All right, give me some other ones.
All right. I have no problem getting naturally lubricated for sex as a woman, but during it, I feel like my vagina loosens. Is there something I can do to make it feel tighter?
Oh, that's a good question, Steve. Can you? What? So you feel that the vagina is too loose?
Yeah, when she's lubricated.
Well, that's kind of natural, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of good. That's kind of what you want.
Yeah.
But if it's too loose, I mean, what can you do to improve the
Well, welcome to the world of the being a woman. You know, guys want bigger penises, and women. A lot of women want tighter vaginas.
Right.
It's one of those things, unfortunately, that there's surgeries and all sorts of things, but
I wouldn't go messing around with it.
I wouldn't mess around with it either.
No. So but there's no way really to tighten up the vagina?
Not really. No, unfortunately not. Why do men need several hours to recuperate after sex, but it only takes me like 5 minutes? That's a woman.
It doesn't take me several hours.
It takes me several days.
Well, that other guy, I was going to say several weeks. It's like, well, that's this month out the way.
Yeah. Whew,
Yeah.
done that.
That's been there, done that. Look, it really comes down to the guy.
Yeah.
Everybody's recovery is different.
Yeah.
So, I think testosterone can definitely have an. Look, when I was taking gear when I was younger. Come on.
I've taken that.
Yeah, give me like literally. I could probably go 3 or 4 times in one night. So some guys can do that easily. So it just comes down to their powers of recovery, and everybody's different.
What they say, a man over 50, what you used to do all night now takes you all night to do. You've heard that saying?
No,
because you're not 50 yet.
Nearly.
Oh no.
It's all downhill from here, isn't it, Steve?
It is.
That's pretty depressing.
All right. Sometimes my partner has trouble finishing what's going on. So I think it's the guy having trouble finishing.
Oh, lack of sensitivity, maybe.
Lack of sensitivity. Know what's going on. Could be lack of sensitivity due to a condom. He could He could just may
passion
not have
killers.
He may not have a super duper libido.
Right.
So he doesn't feel he just can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably, or he could have low testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but libido and testosterone, typically those things do go kind of hand in hand.
Yep.
So you could look at some natural testosterone supplements that can help, like Shilajit, Tribulus, Tomcat Ali, all those things can help. Zinc is obviously important as well too. I don't know, maybe spend a bit more time on foreplay.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than just wham, bam, thank you, man.
And speaking of foreplay, can a vagina be too narrow to fit a particularly large penis?
Yes.
It can be. I mean, typically
but it accommodates.
Yeah, a vagina can deliver.
So
a
it
baby.
can be. Yeah, that's right. But what I mean by that is that it can be problematic. You have to ease into it, without being too blunt.
Yes.
Blunt. But some women are particularly small, and some guys are particularly large, and so that can cause no one in this room, unfortunately, Steve. But it can. But it's one of those sorts of things. Is that my understanding is that the ability to accommodate that can help. But this is where plenty of pre-sex time is important. Plenty of lubrication, naturally or otherwise, can certainly help. Taking it slow. But yes. So, but no, it's not. It shouldn't be a deal breaker.
No, it shouldn't be. Jeff, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
My partner is watching too much porn. Is there such a thing?
Yes. Well, I believe that there is. And again, this comes down to, your own personal beliefs. Now, what I look at it is that there is actually quite a lot of study on an over-watching of pornography that it actually can cause problems in relationships. And I'm not being facetious here. And of course, everyone goes, well, Jeff, you're just a Christian. Of course, you're going to say that. But there are some problems with regards to that. So, but strictly from it, what the problem is if it's a problem to you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So if this is something that makes you feel inferior and not secure in your relationship, then it's one of those things you have a conversation about.
Oh, it didn't say, the person didn't say whether they were male or female. But
Sure.
let's
Either
assume,
way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean,
But typically, men are very visually stimulated, very. And look, I'm not saying that women aren't, but this seems to be, and again, maybe it's a bit of a cliche, but sometimes cliches bear truth. Mind you, there has been a definite change in society where females are far more how would you say, purveyors of pornography than what they used to be. And I think that's access.
Yeah.
And I think that social norms have changed a lot from where it used to be. I mean, obviously it used to be a very dirty, hush, peephole sort of sealed magazine things.
Yeah.
Now it's like literally anyone got a phone here, they can have a porn site up in 5 seconds.
Yes.
So access, I think, is one thing. But in terms of how it makes you feel in your relationship, again, my social views and all the rest of it may be very different from yours, Steve, but in a relationship it should be built on trust and it should be built on mutual gratification and not one partner gratifying themselves over somebody else, especially because there can always be impacts. So from a social aspect and point of view, too much porn is something that makes your partner feel inferior or insecure. Now, some people may argue, well, she or he needs to be explained and get over it that they're doing it for this reason. But this is where communication and a relationship are really, really key. This is where both partners be able to talk about what's important to them.
Yeah, that's spot on, I reckon. It's a problem because they asked it. It's like, they wouldn't have asked if they didn't think it was a problem. So,
and one of the things that I look at as well too is that the communication maybe, and I'm not saying I don't know, but maybe the viewing of pornography is because something is not being fulfilled in the bedroom that they're looking for. So maybe that's a conversation for you to be able to have a good conversation around, sex and everything else, and spice it up.
Yeah,
make it fun, make it enjoyable for both parties, right? But certainly if it's something that's a problem for one party, it should be discussed.
Yes.
So
I totally agree.
That's the relationship, Dr. Phil side of it.
Yeah.
From the other side of it, I'm not a huge fan of porn. I don't think it brings much to the relationship. But that's me.
Yeah, I don't. Personally, I don't. But it's but because this person asked, it's a problem, I think, because they're concerned about it, obviously.
Yeah.
So you need to talk about that, and make your own sort of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's much more fun than watching it, being involved.
Yeah. Well, that's all that we've got time for in this podcast. Thank you. Asking for a friend. Yeah. Look, and appreciate as well too. You were warned before you listen to the podcast, so you can't come back at us. And we'll be back with some more.
I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Say ass on this podcast.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. And we can say dumbass to dumbasses. Dumbass.
Physiology.
You have to cut that.
Oh, does it?
Yep. Steve.
They were around.
Should have been in a monastery.
Not in the... They weren't with me 24/7. But, it was just, what do you mean? Every 16-year-old boy's doing something. Well, most 16-year-old boys are into 16-year-old girls, aren't they?
Do you want to just rephrase that? Sorry, God. I'm just joking. You cut that one.
Do you think? No, that's all right. It's actually happened to me before. I mean, I've accidentally...
Were you all right? Did your eyes
No.
You wear glasses, Steve. I can't imagine that. Anyway, okay, so cut that. So I'm kidding. Cut that. Or a monkey. But no, I'm kidding. Cut that. No. Don't leave that in. That's your partner. Yeah.
Another one.
There's lots of those ones you need to cut, Matt.
That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.